I would like to talk to you about how to sell continuous delivery to your business. And I feel qualified to share that with you because I feel like I am on the business side of technology. And I think this goes very well with some of the things that Andrew and John have already talked to us about today. So to fill in the gaps about me, I am a Brit. I do live in San Francisco. I've spent my professional career in software development primarily as a business analyst or a product manager. And right now I'm head of product at ThoughtWorks. We have a product division, and I look after our products there. And I primarily spend a lot of time with our continuous integration and continuous deployment tool called SnapCI. If you're interested in that, I can talk to anybody all day about what it does. For those of you who are not familiar with ThoughtWorks, we are a software consultancy primarily, but like I said, we do have a small product division. We're a fairly diverse organization, 4,000 people, I think in 14 countries, that's right, and a bunch of different offices in the US. And as well as being like software delivery people, we also consider ourselves to be software people who care about the software community, and we like to give back in terms of a bunch of other things. Some of them are products or open source pieces of work. Some of them you might be familiar with. Selenium was actually built by a bunch of ThoughtWorkers when they were at ThoughtWorks. Cruise Control was the first continuous integration server built again by a bunch of ThoughtWorkers. And then we also have some products that were built by the organization. The first electronic card wall was Mingle. And right now we have the first continuous delivery server, which is Go. As well as products, there's a whole bunch of books and white papers that my colleagues write. And one that might be of particular interest to you and of particular interest to this talk is the book Continuous Delivery, written by Jez Humble and Dave Farley, both of who were ThoughtWorkers at the time that they wrote this. And Jez actually worked on some of the products that I work on as well. So that's a bit about me. A little bit about what ThoughtWorks does. Now a little bit about what I want to talk to you about today. Continuous delivery, doing continuous integration and continuous delivery are not easy. And one of the biggest things that I have found outside of the technology, the biggest problem that people talk to us about when I introduce them to our products and I tell them what we're doing is I just cannot convince like the rest of my organization to get behind this. And John talked a little bit about how you tell people like the CEO. I want to talk a little bit more about what I probably would call middle managers. Those are the people that you need to directly work with in terms of your requirements. Often they're called product managers. That's my role, so I'm probably going to use that word. But in your organization, you might call them business analysts, or you might call them subject matter experts. These are the people who are on the business side of your IT organization who may or I suspect may be skeptical when you first start to talk to them about continuous delivery. And I want to talk about some of the things that I have convinced me, and I think that you can use to have that conversation with your business. So first of all, I want to set out what I mean by continuous delivery because I'm going to use the phrase a lot, and I do not want us to be confused about what I mean by that. So I like this quote by Jez Humble. You can find it on continuousdelivery.com. And it basically says that continuous delivery is about getting all types of changes, be they new features or bug releases or patches, into production or the hands of your users safely, quickly, and in a sustainable way. It's kind of a mouthful, so if you want to sort of reduce it down, it's basically all changes into production safely, quickly, and sustainably. So what does that look like in practice? This is a really quick, short demonstration or diagram of what it looks like in practice on teams that I work with. It's basically a whole bunch of feedback loops, sending information back to your technology teams. The first loop at the top there, I don't have a pointer, but it's continuous integration. You check in a small piece of your code. It can be as small as you want. I recommend that you commit it to your mainline or your trunk, but that is a different story. We can talk about that another day. You check in, you get some feedback, basically. You build, you test, and you get a result, and that gives feedback to your development team. Continuous delivery is basically loops and loops on top of that continuous integration cycle, where you take that same small piece of code, you put it into a test environment or a different stage of your deployment pipeline, and you get more feedback. So this is what I'm talking about in terms of continuous delivery, a small piece of code through different stages, different levels of feedback, and then out into production. I am distinguishing continuous delivery from continuous deployment by this manual step here. But if you want to think about it as continuous deployment, I don't mind. I just want to be clear that that is the distinction I'm making for some of the arguments I talk about later on. So that's what I'm talking about. Why should you care about understanding that concept yourselves and also convincing your business to do it? I think the first reason to convince them or convince yourselves is that $3 trillion is lost on IT failures every year. This is from a paper in 2011, I think, so I'm sure it's more by now. This is projects that do not deliver what your business wants and never get into production for whatever reason. This is the stuff we are not doing well, and I think we need to improve that. That's a massive loss. The other thing is this thing that is called the downward spiral. And those of you who have read the Phoenix Project, this is basically the first 170 pages. This is that horrible, horrible situation where something goes wrong, we put more rules in place, something else goes worse, we push out the deadline, everybody's mad at each other, and the spiral just gets worse and worse and worse until we're over-promising to our shareholders and we deliver something late and it's just terrible. So we don't want to be going down, down, down and losing all that money. And I think it's important for us to address that, and continuous delivery is one way to do that. Another reason why I think it's really important for us to convince our business people like me, about the importance of continuous delivery is, frankly, we do not understand each other. Product managers don't even really understand themselves. There's a big gap between what you think I do, what I think you do. Hopefully not by the end of this discussion, but the gap gets wider, and I think it's important for us to break down those boundaries and really understand who we are. The other part is, and I think this has been reflected in our other speakers today, and hopefully we'll hear it again and again, is that IT is the business. Like, our core value is delivering on what our business does. Our core value is not doing cool things with Docker. It's not using products that I want to sell you. It's not being great at that minute thing that you're doing. Yes, you need to be great at that minute thing you're doing, but there's a bigger purpose, and we need to recognize that that is what we're here to do. And like I said at the very top, middle managers, this will be my picture for product managers in this particular presentation, so you can get used to her little face. They're part of who the business is, and you cannot, I do not believe you can succeed without convincing everybody in your organization about what it is we're doing and why we're doing it, and you need to bring these people along with you on that journey, and I'm going to show you how you can start to do that. And then finally, the last reason why you should be convinced of selling continuous delivery to your business is that sometimes our lives suck. Like, we are delivering software, and sometimes we're dealing with this crap instead. And I truly believe that this does not need to be what our day-to-day is like. We do not need to feel the pain of being in operations. We do not need to be putting out fires and picking up poop and doing all these horrible things. I do think there's a better way, and I think that we can do that through continuous delivery, and I think we can do that together as a complete organization. So hopefully I've convinced you why you should care about continuous delivery, why you should care enough to convince other people in your organization about continuous delivery. Now I want to tell you about who those people are so that we can learn to get to know them. So here she is again. This is our middle manager. She's in somewhere in your business. I'm going to call her a product manager. And I want to tell you, based on my own experiences and those experiences of other product managers I know, what is going on in her head and all the things that she's thinking about. She definitely should know what her business wants in terms of the output from IT and the products that you're making. She should know your customer needs. She should spend time with your customers and understand what those problems are. However, she doesn't know everything about her customers, and she definitely doesn't know every way to solve their problems. So she needs to spend time delivering something and then getting feedback. She's busy, she has too many requirements, bug fixes, features, all of these things, all these balls are in the air. She's trying to prioritize them, and she doesn't actually necessarily want an 18-month roadmap. It's just that up until now, we in IT have told her, you need to tell us all the things that you want this far out. What she would much rather do is deliver something, get some feedback, work out if that's right, and then deliver something better on top of that, or take out what they did and build something else. So those are the kind of things she's thinking about. And then finally, she's kind of on the hook. Like, customers come to her, customers ask her questions, her boss asks her questions. So some of the pain that we feel in terms of delivery dates, she's definitely feeling that as well. So this is my version of the product manager. It's based on what I know. But your situation might be different. Your mileage might vary, and you may not have such a clear picture of who those people are. So how are you going to learn about the people in your business and fill in those blanks around them? So the first thing is you really need to get to know these people. You need to build empathy, and you need to learn what it is to live their lives. You need to cultivate some curiosity about who they are, what it is they're trying to achieve, and learn from them. And we can do that in one really, really simple way, is just to reach out to these people. It could be at the water cooler, it could be at lunch, it could be in an event like this, and just ask them questions. Up until now, maybe the kind of questions we've been asking are about their children, or about how their weekend was, or their vacation plans. How about asking one of these questions? Like, what drives you? What is your worst nightmare? How bad did that deploy go last week? Like, just ask some questions and listen to what they're saying. And that's the important part. When you ask these questions, you really need to be quiet. You need to be quiet and listen to their answers. I think John already talked about this a little bit before, but you already have all these preconceived assumptions about what you expect to hear from people. You already think that you know what they're going to say. You already think that you know what their answers are. I really, really encourage you to ask a question and shut the hell up and listen to what the person is saying. And don't have any biases about that. Don't start to say, well, but. Don't start to give them a solution. Don't ask them a leading question like, why did you do that? Like, don't make them feel bad about what you're asking. Ask a question, listen to the answer, and I think I almost guarantee you will learn something you did not know that will be important to you later, because you will know more about that person, what drives them, what their fears are, what risks they're willing to take, what risks they're not willing to take. And it's not easy. You're not going to ask one question and the answer will be there. Like, you need to keep doing it. Like, it's not a simple task. But when you do it, I think you will build a relationship with these people and really learn. Okay, so you've asked some questions and you've listened to them. I'm hopeful that the picture of them will become a lot clearer for you and you will know much more about them. So now I've convinced you why you should convince them. You know a little bit more about them. And I hope that what you know is things that you can use that will help you convince them that continuous delivery is important. So after you've done that, I want you to tell some stories. And stories are particularly important. Stories have a loop, and they have a beginning and an end, and they will tie emotionally to something that that person is feeling. And this is something that your product manager, or there may be a product marketing manager, will actually be pretty familiar with, because that's what they try to do to their users all the time. Find problems, sell solutions by telling stories. So I want you to try to tell some stories about why continuous delivery is important to these people. I want to tell you, I think it's 4 or 5 different stories about what convinces me that continuous delivery is important for business people as well as technology people. The first is faster feedback. I can guarantee you that the way that my team delivers software now compared to how we delivered software 1 or 2 years ago, before we were not completely doing continuous delivery, has allowed me to get way more feedback from my end users about our product much, much more quickly. And like I said, this is one of the key drivers for a product manager. They need to know their customers, and they're building solutions for those customers. But we really don't ever know if what we build will actually solve the problem in the right way. And the worst thing we can do is spend a really long time building a solution, put it out there, and it's a total fail. What is much better is if we build a small thing, we put it out there, we test it, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but our investment is so much smaller that we feel a lot better about that time that we put into it, and we got some immediate feedback and we can change it. So I think John talked to us about Etsy before. I highly encourage you to go listen to how they build software. One of the things they talk about is optimizing for learning and not for getting things right. That's what this is about. I want to learn quickly, did I understand my customers correctly or not? So talk to your product managers about faster feedback. You also want to talk to them about being responsive. I mentioned in that first slide about what is a big driver for product managers, or one of their biggest fears, is a customer coming and telling them that something is wrong, or their boss coming and saying, like, why the hell did this thing go out? Or something like Heartbleed comes up. The biggest thing that you want to be able to do as a product manager is solve something quickly for your customer. And continuous delivery allows us to be way more responsive to the needs of our customers. It allows us to learn quickly, get faster feedback, and respond quickly to those changes. So as well as the feedback, this is about giving something back to your customers. So talk to your business about how continuous delivery allows you to be more responsive to customer needs or even to your own business needs. Quality. This is something that you may not hear your product managers talk about specifically. They are particularly bad with thinking about quality as a feature of their products. However, they understand the impact of bugs or bad quality things. They have all been in organizations that have spent a long time building something only for it to go live and to be buggy. So quality is something that is an important feature of all of our products, and you want to talk to them about how continuous delivery can increase the quality of the software that you build. I highly encourage you to take a look at the State of DevOps report that John mentioned from Puppet. It has a whole bunch of metrics. He showed them to us, and a whole lot of them are about quality. I think I have one here. It's 22% of businesses, the higher achievers, they have 22% less problems in production than other businesses. And that's one of the things you want to talk to your product managers about, because they will care about the quality of their software. And then waste. I've talked about this a lot, about these timelines that last a long time and how you spend a lot of time putting information and putting your energy and putting your work into this long period of time, only to put it out into the world and it to bomb and not be great. That is a massive waste. It's a waste of your energy. It's a waste of all that money that I talked about at the front. And it's really not something that your business wants to be doing. ROI and waste are really big parts of the product manager vocabulary. So I encourage you to talk to them about how continuous delivery will reduce waste in your development cycles, waste of their energy, waste of your customers' time. And then finally, not finally, there's 2 more, but Sane releases. Seriously, this is my piece of code going into production, and that is the sun. I also do not want to be up on a Friday night or a Sunday morning or whatever it is that we decide is safe to do software releases, I really do not. I am also nervous, edgy, waiting for someone to hit the deploy button. I want to work in an organization where releases are frankly boring, and they are once you start doing continuous delivery. My team, I'm fairly certain, is doing a deployment right now. Well, they're in San Francisco. They might not be in work yet. But when they do, we'll be deploying some software today, and it will not be a nightmare. It will be something that it'll be something small that we all have a very equal understanding of what's going live. They will push a button, it will go live, the birds will sing, it will be the daytime, and there will not be panic. Sane releases are great for all of us. So talk to your product managers about continuous delivery. And then finally, this is, again, a big theme that we hear a lot, and it's one of the bigger reasons I enjoy coming to DevOps Days, is that we talk a lot about culture, learning, and being basically better people in general. I truly, truly believe that the relationships I have with my colleagues now, since we've been doing continuous delivery, are way better than they were before. And not just like in this like warm, like let's all hug together and like walk out the building, not just in that way, in the way that I truly believe that they understand me and they understand my customers as their customers way better than they did before. And a good example of that would be this release. I told you they're going to be deploying something today. They know now, because we talk about what customers want a lot. They know what the levers are when it's we would make a decision to put something into production. So by having a constant conversation with each other, we're able to learn a lot more about the drivers of what we're all doing and create a team that knows more together. So I do not fear that somebody's going to make a decision that I don't agree with, because I've spent a lot of time with these people talking to them about what we're delivering, talking about how stable it needs to be in production, talking about which customers maybe we should toggle it on for first before we do it. So our teams not only spend more time together and enjoy being with each other, but they're more informed and they learn more doing continuous delivery. Okay, so I told you why, and I told you a bit about who these people are, and I've told you some of the stories you should start to tell. You should definitely tailor those to what you heard about that person. But at some point, somebody's going to go, yeah, but I just like, no, we're not going to do that. And John talked about that before, like maybe it's the guy texting, or they're just like, yeah, I just don't believe this. I want to talk to you about 3 common objections that I hear. And one, I frankly think, is just a deep, deep confusion about what all these words are. This is a good one. I'm a product manager, and I say, my customers we just don't want new stuff every week. And my answer to that when I hear another product manager say that is like, that's cool. You're doing continuous delivery. You get to decide when things get deployed. So one of the biggest things I hear is that people are really confused about continuous delivery and continuous deployment. And I'll just repeat this again for me. Continuous delivery means there's a human in there. And that is me making a decision and pressing a button. So your customers don't have to get things every week if they don't want to. Also, they don't have to in continuous deployment either, because we have ways of turning things on and off for people, and that is another level of confusion that people don't understand. So I really encourage you to spend some time with these people, hear what their fears are, and talk to them about what these concepts really mean, rather than just some fearful situation that they have concocted in their head. The other thing that goes along with this is quality concerns, and I don't have time to go through with you all the metrics about why continuous delivery actually allows you to build higher quality software, but it does. I encourage you again to look at some other data, and I'll share some links in a moment. But one of the things I hear a lot is just like, well, this is cool if I was like some consumer startup and like I'm building like an app that says yo, or like a dating app. Like, it doesn't matter if I have a whole bunch of bugs. But like where I do business in the real world, where it's really important, we definitely can't do that. I call like total BS to that. Like all of the products that I have built have been for other businesses. In fact, they've been for people like you. And you guys are actually pretty rough on other software creators. Like, we don't build software that is shitty for other people who are using it for their day-to-day work. That's just not what we do. None of you want to do that. I don't want to do that, and I'm still doing continuous delivery. So you could use the rant version of calling out this confusion, this objection, or you could use some of the data that I talked about. Either way. And then finally, John, I think, also mentioned this. It's only for unicorns. Like, yeah. Okay, so it's not just for consumer greenfield stuff, but like, what if I have security? And like, what if I have like stakeholders? And what if I have like, a stock shareholders who really care about this? Like, again, this is just a way to deflect something that people don't want to do to change themselves. There are many large companies doing this that are not Google, that are not Etsy, they're not Netflix, they're not people at ThoughtWorks. There are normal, big, large companies doing this. I think John had a list. This is the list from Gene Kim in 2013. Like, this isn't just for the one-offs. This is what we all need to be doing to get better at what we do. Okay, and then the last one. I think a bunch of these resources have been mentioned before, but there are actually some really accessible pieces of information that are not just for technologists, that have really meaningful stories and really meaningful sets of information that you can share with your product managers. So I encourage you, even if you can't ask them any questions and you're really too scared to talk to them or listen to them, most of them are really reasonable people, and they're actually highly motivated by being better at what they do, and they will be interested to learn more about it. It's possibly just because they don't come to events like this and they don't know. So I encourage you to take a look at these type of resources yourself. I will share these links. Obviously, I don't expect you to see them, and share them with your product managers. So that's basically the fullness of my talk. So I encourage you to get to know your business, show empathy and listen to them. Really listen and be quiet. Highlight the benefits of doing continuous delivery. Don't highlight the tools. Don't highlight why it's going to be better for you. Don't highlight why you came to this conference and some big important person told you to do it. Those are not going to convince them. Talk to them about what motivates them and what drives them, and tell them some stories. And basically, it's hard work. It's not easy. I have been doing it internally in our organization, and we, like I said, we write books about this stuff. I've spent a lot of time talking with our customers about it, but it works, and you definitely can do it. And if you just need something amusing, just think a lot of things aren't easy, and you can keep going and achieve them. That's it. I'm happy to take some questions if people do have them, or I will be here both today and tomorrow. Anybody not convinced calls BS on me?
What about, you may have answered this already, but I wanted more specific. Business folks who, if you're in an industry where they feel they're not part of technology.
Yes.
And they don't care about the computer.
Yeah, and I think that, I think a lot of people are. And I frankly think, why should they? I think it really depends. If your business obviously builds its value on delivering software, then those people, frankly, I think should care. But if they don't, then maybe not. But either way, I think the point really is, even if they're on the technology side, it's highly unlikely that you're going to convince them by talking about a tool that you want to use or talking about how it improves your life. I think all of the arguments I gave you would be relevant to them. because that's what's important in their lives. Yeah.
To get more specific,
Yeah.
do you feel that product and non-tech people, that the expectation is raising, that they need to acknowledge and understand it some, that they need to be aware that there's a pipeline? Control,
So
or do you think you can fully abstract it out?
I think that to begin with, you're going to need to fully abstract it out. I honestly think, so I do a similar talk, but it's a bunch of product managers, and I'm basically telling them, you guys need to know because you build software and you need to know what this is. And somebody probably said some stuff that you were like, yeah, whatever. And so I personally think yes. I think in order, if they are building software, that is what your organization does. I frankly think that they could take a moment or two to learn it from you. I think I'm kind of saying you need to meet them halfway. A lot of people are not going to understand the fullness of a deployment pipeline. And I probably think that frankly, maybe I don't, and I build this kind of software because it's not like my everyday. But yes, I do think that they need to meet you halfway. I'm not sure if you can tell them that, though. You might alienate yourself if you do that. But I'm hopeful that if you start with the stories part and the benefits rather than the implementations, that they'll be more intrigued to learn more. And I also feel like what I was talking about, like that team together, you just end up spending more time together and learning from each other. And like, I mean, my team does let me do the deployment. I mean, I hit a button, it's like no big deal. But for a lot of product managers, they're so far removed from that whole activity that it would be alien for them to be the one going like, oh, I did the deploy, guys, we're good. I toggled this feature on for these customers. I'm gonna get their feedback and then we can roll it out. Like that kind of conversation, they're so far removed from it. But so yes, but don't tell them I told you that.
Thank you for meeting us halfway.
Yes, I'm good. I'm done. Yeah. Thanks.